coming and joining. Thank you for bearing with me with the short intermission as I uploaded the previous post, part one of this incredible interview. Just going to wait for the amazing Ealech to jump back online and then we can continue our interview from where we touched off. Just a quick recap. We've been talking about the incredible emporium that he's got, how he wants to open it up to be a local little artisan place for the local artists, where he's doing all of his just beautiful work where he creates all of his soap. We've talked about his animals, and now we're going to be jumping back in and we're going to actually be talking about his spiritual approaches. So that we were just touching the fact that he would make the perfect druid. Oh, and here we go, joined in now. Let's send the request through. Can't wait to continue where we left off. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. So part one is now gone live, and let's continue from where we left off.
My best friend just texts me, why you are salute you right away like that? I tell her, we just wait for the second part of it. Do not worry.
Yes. Because we were coming right up to the end, and if we'd actually continued, Instagram's like, bam, there you go. Goodbye. You're only allowed 1 hour.
Perfect. I'm not a technological person, so I do not understand all the stuff. I will be your guest as always. And
exactly.
Carrie, just say hi. Say so.
Let's get back to where we were touched off. So we were talking about trees and the approach of how we found our way through our cities. But why are you so drawn to the nature side of the craft? Because obviously you don't identify with any form of religion. Neither do I, but you are definitely drawn to plants and herbs like I am. Why do you identify like that?
Well, as you said, I'm not drawn to any kind of a religion, any kind of specific spirituality. But indeed, for example, one of the figure, let's say so, that most resonate with me is the image of the Green Man. The one that I'm painting on the Emporium door.
The same man we both worship. I just worship the one with the horns.
Yeah, exactly. Indeed. Even if I do not worship a thing, but it's a quite accurate, let's say so, representation of what I feel when I'm walking in the woods.
Yeah. So I call him synonymous, and what do you call him? Because to me, he is synonymous, and to you, he is.
I don't call it in any particular way. Let's say so. I call it the Green Man just because it is a green man, but I give the horn of Cernunnos. So, and plus being attracted to all the pagan stuff by Celtic tradition and so on. I obviously resonate with the image of Cernunnos and everything else. It's not a case that the first Sabbath that we decide to call our dogs like it's Mabon, which is one of the many aspects in some way of interpreting stuff.
Yeah.
Of the hunting god. So
yes, the hunter, the healer, and the lover.
Exactly. We have the hunter, the healer. Here it is. Where is the lover? Damn.
The lover is all the way in the Riverland for me, and yours is sitting in front of you.
He's cracking loud with bursting that. Okay, let's go back to your question.
Yeah.
So, when someone approaches me with a similar question, I always tell them that I don't really know what attracts me to this kind of stuff, because it's a natural calling, let's say so, without any way of being presuntuoso. Traduzione? Ok, arriverà lentamente. It will take a bit of time to give me the word that I need, but okay. Let's go with that. Cocky. I don't mean to be cocky. Let's say so. I was telling that it is a natural calling. So I grew up in the woods, playing with trees and so on, I always like to put my hands in the soil. So, for example, even when I'm gardening, indeed, I'm, as said, full of spider bites because I prefer to work with the soil, not the soil.
Yeah.
With my bare hands, I need to feel the soil. And can we give us some suggestions about wood?
So you like to literally, you're saying it perfectly correct. You like to put your hands in the ground to feel grounded and earthed.
Exactly. I'm feeling myself a lot of ground, let's say, as you said, grounded in the earth. Indeed, when they make me experience my first shamanic voyage, let's say so.
Yep.
I think the translation is that. And
Yep.
I have to meet for the first time my own spirit animal. The things that he said to me is, please look at the sky. Don't look always at the earth. You are too much grounded in that. But as always, I'm indeed afraid to fly, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I am terrified by high places and so on, even if I live on top of the mountains. And everyone knows that.
That's okay. I myself do not like to fly either. It's not something I'm very comfortable with, but obviously I think that's got a lot to do with my traveling gypsy roots. Like I am so entranced in going from place to place by foot. I want to be in the ground. I want to be in the woods. I don't want to be somewhere where I'm not in control.
Exactly. I perfectly know that kind of a situation, that kind of feeling, let's say so. Well, as I was saying, I'm grown up in the woods, playing in the woods especially with my grandma, and my grandpa, because our parents work, both of our parents work away, so they have their work to concentrate on, and so we grow up with our grandparents. Well, and so I learn both side of the things. So, for example, my granny is quite focused on all the caring of the plants. She always said that her roses are so beautiful because she talked to every one of them when they watering them, and I do the same. The thing is that maybe I sent you some photo back then when something starts to sprout in my vegetable garden, I burst out crying because I'm so joyful about that.
You would cry when you saw my garden at the moment because I've got so little water. The only things that are pretty much alive are my fruit trees. Everything else is dying.
Well, at least you don't have mufflins.
No, but I do have currawongs.
Well, everything used to thrive in our garden. I always said that because I broke my ribs while celebrating the seeding moon. But unfortunately, they managed to get inside the garden again, jumping up 2.5-meter fences and chew up on my fruit trees, on my vegetables, on my everything.
They didn't
manage to. Okay, perfect.
I learned the trick with kangaroos, and a lot of animals do this as well. Tires, because tires are black and a lot of animals have depth perception issues. They can't see inside a tire because it's black, so they don't jump over it.
Well, I figured out that I can plant lavender everywhere, and they are quite drawn away by the smell of lavender. So, for example, we plant some lavender on the stairs that leads to the house, and they didn't get inside from that fence any time then.
Yeah.
Quite convoluted, but I understand. But going back to me and the woods. So I understand the caring for the plants, for the soil and everything else. And from my grandpa, I understand everything that resides in the technical part of collecting things in the wood, how to preserve a certain area of it. Well, maybe we diverge in some things. So, for example, we always, maybe when we are sitting down, well, that's a stereotype, but it's true that we are quite loud. That Italian are loud people, especially a family from Veneto, like mine. We are quite screaming
I
at
think
each
that
other.
Europeans are just loud in general. I think anyone who's got European heritage like ourselves, we're very, very loud, very outspoken.
Trust me when I tell you that my friends are always scared when they are invited to a family business of my family.
And there's probably a lot of this going on too, talking with the hands.
No, I use a lot hands talking, but it is not things in this region.
It is definitely part of mine.
Well, I think this is for my southern part of the family. No, it's not true. But certainly the screaming is from both sides of the family. So I always argue with my grandpa about, for example, how he decide what to plant, when to plant. But, for example, he always told me to talk with moon to decide where to plant something, or with the sun in the daylight. So even if they are quite a traditional family in Christian religion, because for example, I always collect some information about the traditional practicing of my area with my grandparents. Even if a lot of that are from a pagan root. So, for example, my grandma always tell me that for when they used to have a low period of production of fruit trees, let's say so, they used to do these things that are called rogazioni or rugation in dialect in our regional dialect. And they consist with the priest of the town to go tree by trees, chanting song to the trees and to the Lord, obviously, to hope for a better harvesting the next year.
Yeah.
And this is one of that occasion that she tell me, "You are so pagan," and I tell her, "Yeah, obviously, my friends." Explode with Latin with it.
Yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong. So, what is your definition of pagan? Because for me, pagan is the definition of anything that is not Christian, which means everything.
Well, I think pagan, to stay with the root of the word, it's something related to the religion of the population. It's the religion of, well, maybe Carrie, you will be helpful in translating.
Native religion.
Not exactly, not only. It's literally the practice of the people. It's not related to the church, but it's related to the people. So when I talk about paganism, I do not necessarily intend something religion related. So I don't have to worship, for example, to take a god that is quite on the tongue of everything right now. I don't have to worship Hecate to be pagan. For example, I always be graceful to the earth. Not only the earth intended as a spiritual being, but the mother of all creation, let's say so.
I completely understand where you're coming from with that, because when I practice in very much the same way. Like, I don't pray to anyone in particular. And when I do go out into the woods, because obviously you know that I conservate almost 400 acres of mallee forest, the gum forest, I go out and I'm constantly just looking after it, tending to it, saying thank you to the literal woods, because the woods
Exactly.
feed me. They feed the animals that I look after. They feed my emus, which should be coming through in the next couple of weeks because it's mating season, which means I should be able to show some photos, and I think about a month's time, of baby emus when he comes and shows me his chicks.
If you want to take that as a good sign for this live, let's say so, this morning, because Isil keep on sleeping, he didn't heard it, but at 5 a.m., the male deer, the stag, starts to chant his song
Yep,
to begin his mating season.
that low
And
guttural
unfortunately, I have
sound.
the stag sleeping outside my room window, so we are quite awake during the night during the deer meeting season. But it's so beautiful, so musical. For example, the tawny owl just finished their meeting seasons, so it's a good thing to experience the fading of one chant to the beginning of of
Hmm.
another one.
Yeah, like
So I
tonight
can
I will hear the
experience
mallee.
sorry.
So tonight, just like you're hearing the elk, I will hear the malleefowls, and they will be shrieking all throughout the scrub, and it's absolutely beautiful.
Are those beautiful bird with the frog mouth?
Oh no, I do have them. I do have them as well, and they are breeding too. They are getting ready to breed as well. So they're the
They
20
are so
frogmouth, and
cute.
they're not an owl. They are not actually an owl.
No, they are more related to corvids than owl.
Yes, they are. And that's actually something that I learned when I moved out here. I was like, oh, the 20 frogmouth. And then I learned that it's not an owl. I'm like, I always thought that was an owl up until 3 years ago.
Yeah, indeed. I think that in Italian we call the owl. Huh? I don't know, but I remember calling that something like the owl with the frog mouth. So
Yeah, everyone
there's
calls
that.
it the 20 frogmouth owl, but it's not an owl.
Well, it's because it's quite similar to tawny owl, for example, or in your region, I think that you will find more
Barn owl?
wooden barn owl. You have a barn owl? Okay. No, I was
Is it?
thinking about other species of that are related to the tawny owl.
So we have a lot of owls that actually look like your hazel.
You have a lot of little
Small little
owl.
brown owls. Little brown
Yeah, the
owls.
brown owl. That's the. I was just saying echo, vedi? That's the word that I'm searching for.
And I actually have my own local owl that comes back every couple of nights because I have a really bad mouse problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because Australia last
Yeah,
year
that's
got infested with mice. We had a massive mouse plague because of all of the rain, and they have not left. I've completely gotten on top of them, but they are still a problem.
well, we have a big problem with mice, even because they are too big to be prey upon from cats or owl. They are too big, so they can thrive without any problem.
I only have mice that are this big, very, very small.
No, mine are like
So you
this
have
big.
rats. You have rats.
Yeah, big rats. Well, they
Ugh.
are bigger even than the normal rats because they keep on feeding on, for example, my goat is food or everything else. So they are even really beautiful. They have a good coat, shiny coat, but they are too much and they keep on running up on the roof. So they also keep us awake all the night long.
Mhm,
But as
mhm.
I was saying, it is something magical. Let's use this word. It is magical to perceive the going by of the season, hearing the chanting of the forest, of the animals. So, for example, during the autumn, well, the
Mhm.
late autumn to the beginning of the winter, when the trees are letting all the leaf go,
Yeah.
and they are just bark and branches, you can hear the tree sung to the wind passing by. So maybe it's the wind singing, or else are the crackling sound of the tree that are dancing in the wind, and it's
Yeah, I hear that
something
all
beautiful.
the time. Absolutely.
It's
Like
something scary
we
when
have this.
you're under it.
Well, I have a massive tree, as you know, growing over my house, but it won't
Yeah.
cause any damage because obviously the type of tree it is. But during the season when yours drops all of its leaves, my trees cry. They literally
Well,
cry. And that's how I know I'm going into winter. Because what happens, so the gum trees where I live, this is just their natural cycle as we go in and out of spring, winter. They literally are like a dehumidifier. They absorb all of the water and hold on to it during summer. So during winter, they absorb it, and then they just hold on to it. And then during summer and spring, which will start happening very, very soon, probably might even happen tomorrow morning, the trees will then weep. And first thing in the morning, if for about 10 minutes, when the wind comes through, it'll sound like it's raining. And that's how everything gets watered.
yeah, I know that sound. I know that feeling of it. Even
It's
if I
just
don't have
remarkable.
the same tree that you have. Well, as you know, I have three big trees
Hmm.
outside the house that are not dangerous just because they are too far from the roof of our house. They could be dangerous in some other way,
Hmm.
because we have three typical Christmas pine, let's say so,
Yeah,
plus magnolia, which is the one that I decorate for Beltane when it was time.
yeah. I'm
And
about to be
so,
planting my own Beltane and Christmas tree this year. I'm going to be getting a native Australian caliatris, which is a native Australian pine to use.
okay, perfect. Well, those are not native from here, for example. They
No.
were planted, but they can manage to live. So they
Hmm.
start to planting around those trees when they made the uh, Linea Cadorna during the First World War. So they are spreading around
Yeah.
everywhere.
So I'm going to throw some questions now, completely off subject from where we are, and then after this, we'll probably call the live to an end because it is getting on to about 10:30, 11 o'clock my end. But I wanted to
Okay.
ask about your D&D because you play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons. I can see all of
You
the
say
books
so?
behind you. D&D is a big part of your life, isn't it?
It is indeed my practitioner name, Ealech, was the name that resonate with me, and I use it for my first character in D&D.
Yep.
But D&D, and especially for my wallet, Warhammer, are a great part of my life because it's my
Tell us all
hobby.
about it.
Oh, there's too much to tell about it.
Well,
It depends on what you want to
still
know.
got you've still got half an hour to go. Like you've got half an hour to tell us all about Warhammer. And actually, do you even play Pathfinder? Is Pathfinder included in all of it as well, or
Yeah,
just D?
these manual are the Italian version of the first edition of Pathfinder.
Because I grew
The
up with
one
Pathfinder before I was playing D&D.
because you are a youngster.
I'm not
I
that much
started with
younger than you.
3.0.
I don't know what number I started on, but I do know that I have a box full of dice and I love them.
I have a jar this big full of it, and all dice
Yeah.
scattered around the house.
I got a box about this big, and I've got some really old antique glow-in-the-dark dice.
Oh, I don't know. I don't have those kind of stuff, but I have a lot of pretty dice. For example, one of my necklace is made with my first ever dice, which I love because it's the color of malachite, and it
Oh
is my
wow! So
first ever
this,
stone. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. My first dice that I bought to use as a life counter in Magic the Gathering, obviously,
Yep. I do
was
love Magic the Gathering myself. I have a folder full of cards.
me too. But fortunately for my wallet, now there's Magic Arena, so I can save a
Yeah,
bit of money to spend in a 3D printer sooner or later.
yeah, because it's all on the tablet. Like I've got it on my phone as well, and it's a great way to pass time. I'm getting a lot better at it.
Well, why do you don't add me as a friend on it? Well,
I
we
think we're
will
gonna have to
discuss
do
it.
that tonight.
Yeah, obviously, because the Ruminaria is just is just released, so we can play that. Well, going back to your questions about D&D and Warhammer, it happens, and it's fun. Finally, it's all related to my path. Because, for example, well, puoi andarmi a prendere il manuale degli altri Silvani? È sullo studio lì, lo vedi? My first, well, I started playing miniature gaming with the Lord of the Rings miniature
Yeah.
series, as for a lot of people 20 years ago. But my first ever army is obviously the Wood Elves.
Yeah.
And if you know it, a lot of the Wood Elf stuff are from Celtic religion and so
Yeah.
on. Especially a miniature that I had to paint sooner than later. That I think that even if you don't know anything about Warhammer, you will recognize it. Just a second that I'm searching for it on the manual. But if I show where it is. Okay, if I show you this miniature, I don't know how well you can see it.
Not very well, unfortunately.
Okay, well, it is called Orion King in the Woods, but
Yep.
it's actually a representation of the Green Man of Cernunnos. Exactly how I depicted it on my door entrance and so
With the
on.
beautiful oak leaf beard.
Exactly, with all the deer horns and so on.
Yeah.
So even the hobby was related to my growing. Because, as said, I begin to collect wood elves, then I start to read about Celtic stuff and tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found myself in the celebration of Imbolc. And it was snowballing down to where I am today. With no money.
I love that your first instance of drawing into it is drawing into my cultural background and my ancestry, and that's what got you onto this.
Yeah. Well, you know that, for example, let's say Celtic tradition is quite rooted in this part of Italy, because due to the fact that we are in the northern part of it, here we have a lot of Celtic population. The famous Galli. Okay, Isil will not be helpful in this, but
that's okay. I actually do have a question about your Celtic population quickly that's just popped into mind. Obviously, because as you were saying, there's a strong Celtic population. Do you have travelers like myself there, or do you have gypsies?
You said, well, we don't have travelers or gypsies as a tradition of this area. Here we have gypsies that established themselves here.
Yeah.
I don't.
So the
yeah. The eastern part of the Europe side of it. Let's say so.
Romani.
I saw a lot of. You know that I love the traditional traveler.
The big wagon.
The big wagon. Yeah, I love that.
Caravan.
I saw a reproduction of it, of one of it, in a field around here, but it's just showing purpose. It's not an established thing.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, they are very expensive and very, very, very hard to maintain and keep going, especially when you're in the sort of climate that you are, because the climate where you are would cause a lot of mold and just it would need a lot of oil.
Yeah, I can figure it out because, you know, I have a lot of wooden part in my house. So right now I'm figuring out all the cracking of the woods due to the sun exposure or humidity or the heat generated by the fireplace and so on. So I have to study even.
That's why I built the shed.
Well, I'm not in a shed. I'm in a traditional cottage of the area. So
I think I'm in what you would call a shack.
Your house
It's an
is a shack.
Australian term. Yes, it's an Australian term.
Okay, perfect. Well, I heard it.
A shack is by definition recycled materials of multiple different houses thrown together to make a house, which is my house.
Which is the best part of it, because maybe we talk about it the first discourse that we had a long time ago, because you are one of the first people that I met here on Egypt, and we keep on.
True. I have been following you since you only had a few hundred followers.
Yeah, I started this profile like in bulk 2019, if I remember correctly.
I remember I think that's about when I started mine too, because I only think I had about 200 followers when we were talking as well.
Yeah, but I found that you are building a house in the middle of nothing, and it is my dream to do so. But again, due to the Italian nightmare of the bureaucracy, we cannot do that. So,
well, in all honesty, I'm not meant to either. That's why I never tell anybody where I live.
I don't know where you live.
Not at all.
I just know the, how can I call it, our zone due to
yeah,
to organize everything of today.
But in all legalities, this is all illegal.
Okay, perfect. I don't judge it.
But so many people in Australia live like this anyway because, well, the government, like, yes, they don't want us doing it, but they do want us out here for conservation reasons. So they're like, so long as you're not damaging it.
I know the stuff. Because, for example, we have the same things here. For example, theoretically, to take wood from the woods, you have to own that part of the wood, and you can do it only in the right period of the year and with all the permission and so on. But due to people going to the woods and taking wood, it helps the path to be clean and so on. So indeed, when me and Diesel go to the major town, come si dice comune? Let's call it a major house, to do all the bureaucracy stuff for the house. They explain us everything, but then the lady at the desk told us, oh, well, but you are from Arcumeja. It is an autonomous way of living there. Everyone do what they want, and nobody told them anything.
Yeah, that's exactly the same. So when I go to the council too, it's like, as long as you're not clearing, you're fine.
Well, going back to spiritual root, let's say so, I think this concept is quite rooted the read from Wicca. Even if I don't follow Wicca, I think that as the harm none, do as you will. It's quite a good thing to stick by.
Exactly, and pulling something else out of Wicca as well that I believe in when it comes to looking after the woods. Take some for yourself, leave some for someone else, and leave some for the woods.
That's absolutely gorgeous because you know that I go to. Okay, Kerry, tell me that I meant to say City Hall.
Yeah. So in
um,
Australia, we call City Hall the council.
well, it's okay, because you know that here every city has its council, and I am a councillor from my
Yeah.
hometown. However, we are talking about, well, the thing that I do when I went to the woods, I always go with some treat for, well, I always keep on side the fact that I don't have to alterate the ecosystem. I don't want to carry something that can hurt some animals or can,
Mm-hmm.
for example, um, if I always take bread in some part of the woods, maybe some animals will start to gather around that part, and hunters will find them easily. So I will never do such a thing. But for
Yeah.
example, I will carry a pound of my compost, for example, and give it to the tree because I
Yeah.
usually take stuff from the tree. Or for example, the story of the fox that I mentioned about before. I found the fox completely, the complete fox, and I decide to bury him, or if
Mm-hmm.
she was a her. I don't remember the sex of those fox, but I bury him in a place where unfortunately the soil was quite harsh. It was all rocky and harsh
Mm-hmm.
ground. But the year after, I go in that place and I found that in that particular place where I placed the fox, the nature is sprouting out from everything, and I can see the chewing of the wild animals on the branches
Yeah.
of the trees that are sprouting from there. And I say that it is particular dear to me, that school, because I found the school exactly where I found the fox in the first place, and it was there completely fine looking at me. Let's say let's say so. So I have a particular connection with that school. Let's
Yeah.
say so.
That is
And
absolutely beautiful.
yeah,
And I do that a lot out here too. So when I'm going through the scrub, so through the woods, I will find all of the plants that are dying and stuff like that, and I'll break them off. And all of the parts that are dead, I put right at the bottom of it. And now, where I've got my little area that I've been paying a lot of attention to, everything is flowers, just flowers everywhere at the moment because we've just gone into spring and it's all flowering and it's
there's
green. It's green.
a thing that I love to see when I go around the woods is when you meet fallen trees, and I always call them the Xylophagus paradise because you can see all the critters that are chewing on the woods and
Mm-hmm.
starts nesting there, and the life growing inside. And one of the first posts that I ever made was this trunk. This well, it's a stump, maybe it's more correct to say so, that I found one time that I went to trekking in a mountain. I saw
Yeah.
this big stump that is completely gray, completely dead, but on top of it, a new life is growing. There's also a smaller pine that is growing inside the trunk, plus all the lichens and moss and everything. It was such a beautiful sight.
I wish I had that much greenery here, but everything here is so dry. But because of all of the fallen trees and that, I have so many different species of ants, and it's remarkable to see how they symbiotically live together. And the ants actually feed the echidnas. You saw on my post the other day, my story the other day, the
Yes,
echidnas
I
that I
love it.
found.
It doesn't you know that.
And I have so many echidnas out here. I've also got wombats too. And what my plants look after is all of that because nothing else really eats them. But because of the wombats are out here and the echidnas are out here, and the fact that I've got so many ants out here, and I'm even getting more population of ants to the point that I actually discovered literally a few weeks ago another critically endangered South Australian termite on my property that has actually been missing for 20 years.
Well, let's say so. When we talk about the golden eagle that starts to surf our skies recently, it was completely disappear from decades from now. Or, for example, one of the main topic in Italy is the coming back of the wolves.
Yes, we were talking about that a few weeks ago.
Exactly. For those who don't know, during the 50s, it was the wolf panic in Italy. So everyone starts to hunt down every wolf possible, and they bring them to the brink of the extinction. Indeed, the wolves that are coming by here are not all native Italian wolves, but are also grey wolf from French and other region of Europe. But at least, as say at the beginning of the other live, nature always will find a way.
Absolutely. And here's the thing about wolves and large canines as well. I've noticed something significantly remarkable where I live at the moment. Where I live, there used to be dingoes. So there used to be a lot more dingoes in Australia. But in South Australia, where I reside, they're not allowed to be here. They get pushed back to the other states. And because of that, we have very high populations of feral goats. The kangaroos are out of control and stuff like that, which has a significant impact on the native grass. And the native grass in my region is what feeds everything. It feeds the wombats, it feeds the birds, it feeds Cosmo, my parrot that I've got in the cage that I'm going to be using for breeding. But since I've moved out here with Diesel, who is a canine predator, my grass is coming back. I'm actually getting clumps of grass all across the property now because he is keeping those large marsupials away, and the grass is actually being able to grow back.
Yeah, I feel the same problem as here. We have the same one with ungulates. So, for example, we have a ton of wild boars. Plus, they are inbreeded with domestic pigs, so they are bigger than they used to be. Or else, the stag is a big problem here. We have a lot of deer running around, but they are too many for the natural resources.
So they're eating everything.
So they're eating everything, but other than that, they bring them, well, I always say that it is the road that traverses the wood, not the wood that traverses the road. But the problem is that, for example, in the valley, where there are obviously rivers and so on, deers are going there to feed and meat. The problem is that they are start attacking cars. They start to attacking cars. Well, they are quite big right now, the male deers, the older one, and they create a lot of problem.
So it's like the moose in Canada.
Yeah, exactly, where they are less big than the moose in Canada, but the problem is there. Well, my friends like to tell us that there's a plant that is growing from the concrete, not cement. Kerry is concrete.
I call it cement over here.
Okay, perfect. I keep it back. So, well, for say that, for example, she also have wild trees that is growing in one of her geranium vases. She's growing a hash tree, if I remember correctly.
As in like hash tree?
No, that kind of ash. Well, from her, I will expect this and more. When she was young, she tried a lot of things to experiment with stuff. Not that she actually tried it, but For example, we always joke on her grandma that when she throw the seeds from the parrots and all the little bird that she had,
Yep.
there are a lot of plants with with 7 pointy leaves that are growing in their houses, so they keep on cutting
give me
them.
1 second. Give me 1 second. I'm just going to let my dog outside because I believe that there is a kangaroo walking into my yard.
Perfect. So unleash the beast. Ecco. Perché noi non lo facciamo con Mario? Perché non lo scagliamo contro i mufloni? Ma cosa si scaglia?
Good boy. And there goes the exact example of what we were talking about and the benefit of actually having a large predator around.
Well, we're just talking about why we don't do the same with mufflins and mabon. But the fact is that mabon is scared by our pygmy goats. So you have to figure it out how it can run around the mufflins, which is twice as big.
Yes, well, with Diesel, he's all like, "Brr," and everything. In Australia, the funny thing about our predators, like our animals, is everyone's like, oh my God, they're going to beat the crap out of you. In all honesty, they're actually terrified of you.
Yeah,
You
like
make a
every
big enough noise and they run away.
It's like that with everything. It's not a case that, for example, they used to here in Italy, they used to use a small breed of dog to make the security for the noble of the region.
Yeah.
Which is just like the dog that I used to have before Mabons arrived. They use these small dogs to make security, to guard the palace and so on.
To sound big and scary when they're really not.
Yeah, well, I have a way of saying in Italian, which is quite rude, but maybe I can tell you that anyways. I don't know what it is.
Just say it.
We say that small stuff they used to use as an insult for small people, but now they use for example, Chihuahua and those breed of dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Why you are looking at me that way? Easily judging me behind the camera. Well, we say that the small things are the worst because their heart is near the anus.
Yep. And they're generally more aggressive. I've always said that the smaller dogs are always more aggressive because they have what we in Australia we call little person syndrome.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I show you one of my friends' baby dog, which is a Tibetan Mastiff. Was everyone
I've never heard of that breed.
Well, let's say that they are used to preserve Tibet temple from bears attack.
Oh, is that those really big fluffy dogs?
Yeah, those 90 kilos of dogs.
Yeah. Actually, you have shown me a photo.
He is such a sweetheart that you don't have any idea. While she also raised the Chinese crested, the naked dogs.
Yeah.
And they are such assholes.
Yep. Yep. Little ankle biters.
Yeah.
But with that, anyway, it's been absolutely incredible sharing space with you. I do have to start getting ready for bed. It is going on literally 11 p.m. now. Like it's 10 minutes to 11. It's getting late. It's been
I'll let you sleep while I go to the Emporium right now.
Yeah, you go get some incredible artworks done, and I will definitely touch back with you. It's been incredible talking to you. It's been incredible having Eisel in the background helping translate. Hi.
Potresti anche dir ciao. He doesn't want to talk. I said,
No,
you can
that's completely
say
fine.
hello.
That's completely fine. But it's been incredible finally sharing space with you. It's been great to actually talk to you face to face because we've only ever texted and sent voice memos
Yeah,
all the time.
yeah.
And just
The
letting you
voice
know,
message is such a new thing for us.
yes, it is. We're both not very good at it. We are. And just so
Yeah.
you know, your English is really, really, really good.
Thanks. It's not true,
But
but thanks.
well, it's you can talk to me. We can have a full on conversation, and we've had no problems at all conversing.
Yeah, and as I promised you back then, I don't talk like this. I
No,
don't
no,
do Super
Mario.
Mario all the way long.
Best. It's been great sharing space with you, and we will definitely talk soon. Ciao for now.
Ciao ciao, ci vediamo.